Welcome to another episode of the KIPS Personal Trainer Application Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. Today, we have a very popular topic, at-home personal training. That's one of the hot topics of 2021. It was of all of 2020, as many different areas around the globe went into shutdown. And coincidentally, and I'm very happy that I have another guest from north of the border in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada, to talk about this. We have Justin Slim. He's going to share some great insights for personal trainers that are in this, and hopefully more that want to push that and go into at-home training. I think in previous episodes, it's been a topic with guests that they've mentioned that this isn't going to go away, that you got to make that push, you got to adapt, and hopefully you do that. You do whatever you need to be a professional in the fit industry and continue pushing. So Justin, first of all, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course, Tyler, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, let's kick it off with at-home personal trainings. It's the same, and I'll say with conversations, that you're going to have clients that come up to you. Maybe it's on the phone, or you're in their house, or it's virtually. They're going to have these questions. They saw something on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and it's a controversial topic that in the fitness industry, it's the plain way to say it is that there's some topics that there's people on both sides of it. How do you typically handle questions from your clients like that?
And it totally depends on the question. And this is a good way to kick it off, because I think that a lot of people are getting confused with the messages because, you mentioned a lot of people are going online. So there's a lot of more messaging that we are getting on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, whatever social media platform. And it's like, who do you trust? And that's the hardest thing, right? So you almost have to take that lens and back up a little bit and just honestly look at the certifications that your fitness person has. Are they being pressured to sell you a product? How long have they gone to school for? What is their background in that? And I think that is really important. Plus, we also have to talk about how much in person, or how they have put this application to use, right? So if there's someone who is book smart but haven't worked with a single client, like, you almost have to question that too. So I think it's a healthy balance of both. When it comes to those questions and how I address them, I am completely honest about my mentality. And, my biggest one right now is during COVID-19, there's a lot about, like, you're gaining the COVID, like 19 pounds or whatever, like you're gaining the COVID weight. And so that's where I like to kick it off first, is like weight gain during COVID-19. I mean, I like to pull it back a little bit and just remind these people, you are grieving a life you once knew. Maybe you have somebody who is impacted by the virus. Maybe you are dealing with a job loss, or the economy is going down, or whatever it may be. So you almost have to pull back and remind these people that you are a human being. The fact that you're not losing a pound a week, or whatever you want to make your goal, does not mean you're a failure. So I make them feel very comfortable in the situation and who they're talking to, because I need to know, or these people need to know, that they are within a safe space, because there are a lot of messages out there where it's kind of like, lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks, or whatever the messaging is, right? But that's just that constant, you have to lose weight. And I put heavy air quotes around that. You have to lose weight. No, you don't always have to lose weight in order to live a healthy life. And that's what I want to really promote, is living a well-rounded, healthy life while trying to navigate this COVID-19 situation, like we all are. The entire planet is affected by this, and doing it without judging yourself so much, having permission to move your body, eat and nourish your body properly, try to get some quality sleep, and then just really hone in on those basics. So that's my big thing when I address those tough topics.
That's a good one. And I feel like that really hits on how wellness, mental wellness, well-being, that's becoming more of a bigger topic, and it should be in the fitness industry. What are those steps that you're taking with your clients to make sure that outside the gym, they are doing their homework, or they're keeping up with a well-balanced program that you're putting together with them? Because when we think about it, you see them 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week, and they have all this time away from you. So how can you take steps to make sure they're succeeding at those? And just a quick story that I spoke on pretty recently was these all or nothing goals. And I like how you mentioned that with weight loss, that oftentimes it's, oh, I'm not losing 1 pound, or I gained X amount of pounds, just how you said, and they think that they have to continually lose weight. But there's so many other things with exercise that you can be looking at positives. And when you have these all or nothing goals, like I need to lose 19 pounds, I need to lose 5 pounds, and all of a sudden you're not getting those, your mental capacity is just diminished. Everything goes towards, wow, why am I failing? Why is my trainer, is he the one or is she the one? And so these all or nothing goals, instead of thinking that I have to do this, what are some other pieces, or how can you frame it with those? And I think that leads pretty well into our next topic in terms of outside the gym items. So you mentioned sleep already. What is your strategy in the beginning with getting your clients into those?
100%. And the thing is the way I like to approach my clients is approaching them where they are, right? So I'm not going to give them 27 different habits to start on day one, because that is overwhelming. So I like to start small. So for example, I had one of my clients who was on the phone with me the other day, and we were just doing a consultation, and we were talking about where he was, and he was talking about how he was really stressed out at his job, and he was, trying to get his exercise in. He was trying to raise his kids, trying to raise his family, and sometimes that meant that he was eating fast food for lunch at work. And we were really talking about that. And he kind of almost shamed himself on the consultation. Like, I know I shouldn't be having that stuff. And I'm thinking, my big thing is to focus on a little bit of addition rather than subtraction first, right? So let's hone in on what you're doing well already. Okay, you're trying to get some strength training in every single day. That's good. That's a good start. Maybe we just need to change around your program or tweak it here or there. To make sure that it's really good for you. And then maybe we can address nourishing. Here's some recipes. We can go from there. When we talk about outside of the gym, the big thing that I like to focus on is first thing in the morning with my clients. If you're constantly going with your sympathetic stress system, that's the one where you're basically fight or flight, and you're going and checking your phone first thing in the morning, trying to get the kids ready for school. You're trying to, make breakfast and plan for the day. Well, then you're just checking emails and all that jazz, right? Well, then you get into this constant stress, and that can become chronic stress over time. So what I really like to do is focus on the night before and the morning of. And that's the big thing, right? So the night before, I like to do a brain dump. So I'll recommend that, before you go to bed, if you can just grab a journal, even just write it, take some mental notes in your head, just write down all the thoughts that you had for the day and what's upcoming tomorrow. Because if you try to go to bed with this constant thought process going on in your head, I mean, you're not going to have the most restful sleep. So if you can get it down on paper and almost close the chapter, pardon the pun, but you are literally closing the chapter on what you need to do for the coming day and what happened on the prior day. And that way it can allow your brain to just shut down a little bit. Not only that, then it provides you a to-do list for the coming day. I mean, think about that. When you wake up in the morning and you don't have to check emails, you're kind of just, dealing with the things that you need to do. I think that is really important. You've got it written down already, and you're not kind of scrambling, having that fried feeling when you're going through. And then the morning of, I really, really recommend have 2 large glasses of water first thing. Because oftentimes at night you get dehydrated. I mean, that's just everybody. You're sleeping, what, 6, 7, 8 hours? You haven't had a sip of water. And if the first thing that you're putting in your body is caffeine, cup of coffee. I mean, I love my coffee. I'm never going to say no to coffee. But if it's the first thing you put in your body first thing, you're just jacking up that sympathetic stress nervous system right away. And that's something that I just say, okay, you can have a cup of coffee, but have 2 large glasses of water first. And those 2 things right there actually make a huge difference. So I've seen great success with that. And then after we've developed, I like to go in like 2-week, 1 month habit forming. So if they can do that for 2 weeks and 1 month, and they can prove to me that they've done that, then maybe we start introducing some other things. Maybe it's getting sunshine first thing in the morning. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it is doing a meditation or just some light movement even before anybody else in the house wakes up. I mean, those are all great options, but we start small, and it goes back to that whole thing where I like to approach the clients where they are and then just build slowly from there.
I like it, Justin. I like it. There's one piece that I do want to touch on with
Mm,
everything, and that's the consultation part, just because where
mhm.
we're at. And I think it's good to, I'll say, hopefully provide some insight for how somebody is doing it already. So, with your
Mhm.
consultations, have you found any type of, I'll say, system that works well for you with you doing at home? Is the consultation part, done virtually and you've seen that this is pretty good
Mhm.
to make that connection? Or have you seen that, okay, maybe we do practice social distancing when applicable, and that is a good
Yeah.
approach to start making that connection with a client?
That's a really good question because, before COVID-19, we did those in-person consultations. And Tyler, to be honest with you, when people are stepping in a fitness studio for the first time, it means that they've decided to take that leap. And they are brave for doing that. Some people have walked in that door shaking. They hear loud noises up on the speakers. I mean, these people in tight-fitting clothing at the front desk. You're not sure where to sit, where are the lockers, where's the water fountain, where's the bathroom? And then you expect them, you pepper them with all these questions while a current class or the gym, people are exercising behind you. So I've actually found that this virtual option or phone calls or Zoom is actually a lot safer for
Mhm.
the consultation process. And I think that's really healthy for them to realize that, you know what, I am safe at home. I'm feeling okay and I'm ready to open up. And I've actually had a lot more people open up with the
Mhm.
consultation process rather than, even if if they were consulting in a gym, maybe they've come with a friend because the friend said, hey, I know that this program is really good or this gym is really good, so why don't you come with me, we'll get you a consult. Well, then they're almost shy to give their true answers beside their friend or their
Mhm.
family member or whomever. So I think it's actually creating a really safe space to do those consults over the phone or Zoom. And then there's no obligation, there's no pressure. It's just we have a conversation, we talk about what they're hoping to do. I explain a little bit what about the online training or the virtual training that I offer and what they can expect, so that they don't have any questions after they exit that consultation process. So I'm a big proponent of this virtual consultation process. And to be honest, when gyms open back up and things are back in studio, I think gyms should almost consider that as an option, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do make it clear beforehand though, hey, like carve out 30 to 45 minutes, right? Because you don't want to do a 10-minute rushed session where it's just, okay, well, what are your goals? Okay, well, yeah, what have you done before that didn't work? What's your diet like? Blah, 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 blah. And then they just feel overwhelmed. So I do prep them and just say, treat it like an appointment, like you're going to a physio or a chiro or something like that. Because then we can really go in depth and I want you to be 100% honest with me. So it's
Mhm.
been good.
I like that. And a good insight too, with the background of why someone might have a barrier up already. Meeting you in a gym, they
Mm-hmm.
know, and I've said this in previous podcasts, that they know what's coming in these sessions. They know that you're
Yeah.
gonna potentially sell them on a personal training package. So they have these barriers up. But ultimately, a personal trainer needs to get down on those barriers and hopefully get that client to
Mm-hmm.
open up. So, what are those things? By having them in a comfortable space in their home where they feel relaxed and they feel like they can open up to you, you're already, I think, 5 steps ahead. And I like how you mentioned that gyms should try to do that, try to get them in a more comfortable space at home, set these meetings up. And I think that that's been one of the pieces that I've heard it from many industry pros is that this last year has gotten people, I'll say, more comfortable with online. With they've learned how to do Zoom. I remember when it all started back in March, before a little bit before that too, that people were like, "Oh, Zoom! Like, how do I work my audio settings? Is my camera on?" All these things were popping up, but that's been changed. They know how to change these settings. They know when their camera's on. All these things happen that gyms, fit pros can look at as positives, that they can set these things up and potentially, if maybe they're a new trainer and they're working in a fitness setting, that they might be able to set up more consultations. And we know it's a numbers game, that you have to do X amount of consultations to get your first client and more clients after that. You get better and better at it. So if you can increase that percentage, you can work that practice and just get better and better at it. Hopefully you can succeed at staying in the fitness industry, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. And Tyler, I'm just going to, just talk about my business itself
Yeah,
for a minute. I
please.
mean, I was lucky and I set up before COVID-19 hit. I mean, nobody expected a worldwide pandemic to
Hmm.
happen. And I actually started my business in 2019 as an option for people to consider outside of the gym. If they wanted to train at home, maybe they're a busy professional and they wanted to work out during their lunch hour, they just didn't have time to, get into a gym setting. And that was my big thing, right? So, and then when COVID-19 hit, it became a necessity to train from home and do virtual training. So I was actually well set up before COVID-19 hit. I'm very grateful for that, because while the big players were trying to figure it all out in the shortest amount of time, I mean, I had that option available, and people knew that they could turn to me because they knew that I've done it before. So,
Hmm.
um, it's been a great experience, and yeah, no complaints here.
That's good to hear. I mean, I'm sure you know Fit Pros that they didn't adapt as quickly or they weren't set up for it and they were scrambling too. And
Mhm.
I still see those posts on different Facebook groups, people looking for advice on even the most basic things if they're doing virtual
Mhm.
trainings, a microphone, or even
Mhm.
just, I'll say, very entry level question. It's like, you
Mhm.
didn't figure that out last year? Come on,
Mhm.
like you need to start pushing that because we don't know what three
Mhm.
months, 6 months is going to look like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you can offer a professional, quality virtual workout that a client will see, like, yeah, I want to sign up for more of these, or I do want to keep this routine because I see that I can apply this time in other areas. And I think that you
Mhm.
kind of hinted at some of those items before with if you have kids, and I don't have them at the time of this recording, but I do know that they take up time, that you have to dedicate time to them. And that's one of those things that if you can save time with working out at home on a lunch break virtually, that's time that you could spend more with your kids in other areas.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
definitely a big benefit right there, in my opinion.
Totally. And the thing is, and I don't know what it's like where you are in Arizona, but where I am in here in Calgary, I mean, I've been working from home this entire time.
Hmm.
And so my commute is gone,
Hmm.
right? The fact that I am eliminating a 90-minute to a 2-hour commute every single day, what am I going to do with that time? I mean, time is finite, right? So
Hmm.
it's not something that you can get back, but it does feel like I've got a little bit more time, or the gift of time given back to me. So I can take that 90 minutes, 2 hours, and maybe dedicate that to some at-home fitness. And I think that
Hmm.
that's a good lesson for anybody who's listening
Yeah.
is, just consider what your new workflow is like, and can you make some changes just to, even if it is just a 20-minute workout, really consider um, getting that movement in, because I mean, a lot of people are working from home right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good segue right there to let's to going back when you were first starting, or when the pandemic was really kicking into gear and we were all going into shutdowns. What was that kind of like with clients that weren't familiar with training at home? Because I think this could be great advice for those trainers that have not made that switch and
Mm-hmm.
potentially need to. What were some of those barriers that you saw with clients that are like, I don't know about this, or they were,
Yeah.
I don't have the equipment, or things along those nature? What were some of those?
Yeah. And I think a lot of trainers that may be listening are, and this is how I felt, people are losing their jobs, and, the economy's tanking. I think,
Yeah.
you know, the money, right? You're scared to ask for somebody to pay for your services that you have worked a lot of hours to get certified with.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the biggest barrier, and I was scared of when I first started, or when the pandemic hit. To be honest, I did lose some clients right away, due
Hmm.
to job loss and due to finances. Um, but I was fortunate because I have a full time job outside of the fitness. The fitness and training people. This is my evening kind of weekend thing, but during the week I actually work in the news media. So I am actually the one who's reporting on some
Mm.
of this content and, the stuff that's really, really hard for a lot of people to deal with. And I find that fitness is really, really that escape. But, for those of you that are listening and really thinking about those barriers, I mean, 99% of this stuff doesn't matter. 99%, really, all you have to do is ask, right? And if they say no, that's the worst they're going to say. I don't feel that people should have to discount their programs just to say that they check that box to say, hey, I got a client, I got my first client. While that can be great for experience, you are trading a service for time, and you have to be properly compensated for that time. So I
Hmm.
would say, don't be too scared when people are, with the money objection. It's going to happen. People are going to say no, but it's not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on how hard you've worked to get where you are. Continue to push, continue to market yourself. I mean, my background is communications and marketing. You have to realize that not every nail is going to be hit on the head, right? I just, I was in one of these Facebook groups, and somebody put up a post saying, I just got certified as a nutrition coach, and I put up on my Facebook page, hi, I'm a nutrition coach, I just got certified, and nobody responded. That's one post out of
Hmm.
millions, thousands, hundreds of millions that are going on social media right now, right? It's
Hmm.
not a reflection on you. You don't have this spotlight on you that you think you have. You have to understand that you have to constantly inform, educate, and inspire people so that they're drawn to you, and that they consider, and then they can build that know, like, trust factor. Actually, let me go back. Instead of the know, like, trust, I like the know, love, trust. You want these people to feel like you're part of the family, that you're the best friend, that you're living your truest life, and that they can really connect with that. So just continue, keep going with the social media, with speaking with the people, because the biggest barrier I found was the money. In terms of space, I think that's the biggest thing as well right now. And I mean, Tyler, if you look at my social media channels right now, I'm Slim Fitness anywhere on social media, 2 M's in Slim. I mean, I'm doing garage workouts right now with an old piece of luggage that I put some extra stuff inside. Like, I mean, you sometimes just have to use what you've got at home,
Hmm.
maybe weigh it up a little bit and get creative. I was doing deadlifts with my couch this morning. My 4-year-old daughter was my resistance, was my weight.
Hmm.
So you really have to get creative when it comes to the space. And that's something that I could help them with and guide them through, and just say, hey, do you have a set of stairs at home? Great, we can do step ups. We can
Nice.
do gentle box steps, box jumps. Do you have a floor? We could start doing knee push-ups or wall push-ups if we're not quite there just yet. I mean, there's so many different things. And one of the big things I like to say, and I may be rambling here, Tyler, but that's
No.
just my nature. You always have body weight, and you
Yep.
always have sprinting. Regardless of what space you have. I mean, Tyler, I'm looking out my window right now, so it is snowing. I mean, it is cold, so I wouldn't expect anybody to sprint at this point, but you can always get that heart rate high by doing running on the spot. You could do some, plyometric movements. We can really, really, really target your goals with body weight and sprinting, or, getting the heart rate up and getting a little bit of a sweat on. So
Yep.
I would definitely, definitely help with that. If it came to, the space or equipment or anything like that, I mean, you really don't even need that much space. Maybe, like, I'm 6'3". I don't know how tall you are, but what is that? 36 square feet. That's all I need to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a good workout in. So yeah.
Oh man. First, I gotta say, I wish I was 6'3", but but with the I have to touch on this, and I got to be careful, just because somebody that I work with, him and I have been discussing a body weight course, and really, you got to think about it. For Fit Pros, think about this: that I think it's across the states that 66% of people are either obese or overweight. So working with them on just body weight can be enough resistance for them. They don't need dumbbells, barbells, fancy equipment. A lot of the basics, posture, working on core strength, working on body weight exercises, even things around the house, doing bodyweight push-ups against the countertop. These are all things that are going to be enough of a challenge for a lot of individuals. And so where I'm trying to be careful is that not to give too much away of what we talked about with this course, but the takeaway is that body weight, yeah, there's so much to explore with it that really hasn't even taken off in the industry because we like fancy equipment, we like barbells, and we like suspension trainers, we like all that kind of stuff that really, make our services pop to people. But body weight, oh my goodness, if people really understood what they could do with it, and even just looking at the demos, it's such a great resource. And so, and where a lot of this came from, and I'm just going to pull a little piece from the conversation I had with him, was he was thinking about this prior to the pandemic, just because he was traveling and he was in airports, sitting in confined spaces, sleeping in hotels, things that busy professionals do, that they do travel, they do sit in their offices seated for long periods of time. But what can you do in that space? So much. What you were just nailing right there is that you could do so much in that space. And you are considered taller than many individuals, and you are creating those spaces, which is such a great point for individuals to think about Fit Pros, that you can create these spaces, create the time, and you have the resources. You just got to be creative, which I think is the point that we're trying to make there. So let's
a couple of things on that too. Like, when we talk about creating space, I've got a 2-car garage, and like I mentioned earlier, it's snowing. It's going to be -40 here in Canada. And if you don't know the translation or the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit, -40 is -40 is -40. It's cold. It is freezing. But I decided to park my car on the street in front of my house and use my little garage space and just commit to it, right? Yeah, my car isn't going to be warm, but I'm working from home. I'm not using the car. What do I need a warm car for? So that's what I like to think about. And another point too is when the first lockdown happened back in March of 2020, when everything kind of went, a little bit sideways, I decided to try a handstand challenge. Could I hold a freestanding handstand off of a wall? And I had no experience of going upside down, and I wasn't good at it. I was awful at it, and that's okay. It's okay to suck at something, and because everybody else sucks too. And I think that that's important, right? You are not terrible when you start. Everybody else started there too. So, when you turn to the people who really, really can guide you through that, and like you said, countertop push-ups or, walking outside or whatever it may be, you just have to know that progress is going to start slow. It's going to, be hard at first, but everybody has been through it and everybody's been there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, just one little tidbit before we get to the next question. I remember I had a client that we had to spend almost half our session just walking a lap because he just wasn't there yet. And we had to do that consistently though. We had to just get the small pieces going. He was part of that population that was overweight and obese, and that just walking a simple lap around a park was enough to get his heart rate going and to make him feel some type of stress on his body. So keep that in mind with where people are at, how some people have been inside for a long time, and how you can make these spaces. And so segueing now to mindset, I think that that's a great thing that to talk about with fitness pros is the mindset that a lot of these individuals are in with being in lockdown or being not able to see their friends, family for extended periods of time, and also in trying to instill some type of new habit mindset with them. Can you kind of talk about that approach with your training specifically?
Yeah, and it's something that I mentioned a little bit earlier. It is starting slow and
Yeah.
really, really identifying one thing that you can commit to. Start with a day, start with the 24-hour period in front of you. And whether that is something small like drinking an extra glass of water or walking around your block while you have a 15-minute break from work. I mean, if you can commit to that daily without exception, then you can start slowly adding in other things. But I really, really recommend that people start slow. Like I'm talking like almost glacier-like slow, because I don't want you to look at the magazine covers and think
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to be a 30-day fix, or a 6-week or a 1-week detox or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. That scares me when we try to hyper speed our results, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, Tyler, but I want to do this well into my 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to try to exercise or move my body or create these habits in a week. Like it will not happen. You will set yourself up for failure if you just continue to tell yourself that I should be doing this and I need to be doing that. And that's another good point too. And like I mentioned earlier, my background is in communications. So I know the importance of language and
Mm-hmm.
what language you use on a daily basis to really see success. So if you tell yourself that you should be doing something or that you need to be doing something, there's almost a negative connotation that is associated around that. And then you shame yourself and you guilt yourself into thinking, I'm not good as Jane who's across the street. Now, all of those, I want you to pull back and say things like, I deserve to do this, or I feel great when I do this. And then take that feeling and take it to the bank, right? Because I like to say that small victories develop into big wins. So I think all of that is really important when it comes to habit forming and
Yeah.
mindset. Start really small, change your language that you tell yourself. And nobody's perfect. I'm not freaking perfect either. And I don't want to be, because I've got 2 young daughters at home. And if I portray that I'm somewhat perfect, it could cause stress and anxiety in them as they grow through their formative years. And I
Yeah.
want to make sure that they see daddy fail. They
Mm-hmm.
see me fall flat on my face, and they see me trying maybe a new skill or a new habit like the handstand challenge. And I made sure that they were with me when I fell. And I'm
I
like,
like it.
it's okay. Dust myself off. Let's get back. Let's try again.
Mm-hmm.
Being okay with failure. I think that's the third tip that I would say with habit forming as well, because everybody sucks at something, and
Yep.
you're going to suck the first time you try. So yeah, really try focusing on the 24-hour period in front of you. Try to crush that first.
Mm-hmm.
Change the language that you tell yourself, because self-defeating talk is a real thing, and we're our own biggest critic. And it's, I'm no different, but if you just work on it ever so slightly and say, I deserve this, and I feel good doing this, then that stuff really starts to snowball. And 3, be okay with failure.
Yeah.
That's, everybody's going to fail. I've done the math. You right now, Tyler, you're going to live 30,000 days in your life. 30,000 days. That's 82 years. That's the average lifespan of a Canadian, is 82 years. One day is not going to matter. If you
Mm-hmm.
screw up, you've got 29,999 other days to go ahead and try again. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my big thing when it comes to, mindset and habit forming and everything like that.
I like that. I like that. And I like how you mentioned also the challenge stuff. I know that we've both probably seen some ones and you're like, oh, really? Is that really something popular? And I'm just going to mention, I can't even tell you the name of it. My wife mentioned one that she saw on social media that was getting a lot of buzz, and it had some big things in there that, okay, like we're going to kick 2021 off with all these extreme, they're not extreme, but like in my mind, they were extreme things
Mm-hmm.
that, well, what happens if you don't do them for one day? You already lost the 70 something challenge, 70-day challenge, or whatever many it was. And it's just like, you got to start small, just how you said, start small, make sure you do it every single day. And that's kind of been my saying for my other company, Time to Train, is all of these small things add up to something big, especially if you can do them consistently. So watching these challenges happen, and some of them, of course, want to get behind. If there's something that promotes health and that people can succeed at and really, make these new habits, all for it. But extreme measures, cutting out things just drastically, I'm not for that kind of stuff.
No, me neither. And I will say this, I mean, a lot of those challenges are designed to get people motivated. And I think that's great. You're motivated to start something. That's awesome. But really, really, really use a critical eye when you look at some of these, challenges. Is this something that is going to be safe? Is it something that's going to be fun? And is it something that you can see real measurable progress with? And in that order, safe, fun, and measurable progress, I think are really, really important when you are looking for anything like that. Because if anybody claims that you need to cut out fruit because of the sugar, things like that scare me. If anybody claims that you need to do a detox, it gives you the connotation that you've done something bad, right? Your liver has the capability to detox its body if it's fed the right food. So to say that you need to eliminate certain foods is just, that kind of stuff is scary to me too. But I could go on all day about these 30-day challenges. I think the intention can be good, but, really look at who's giving the information, what is their credentials, and what the promise is. I think, those are really, really important when you're looking at something like that.
Yeah. And I think that actually is a good segue now to our podcast takeaways. And right now, I'm going to bring back one that we've done in previous episodes that kind of fell away from, not for it was a bad question, but just because of the guest and what they were, I'll say their niche. And I like to include this one when I can, just because it's a great question. It's great for Fit Pros to provide advice based on their experiences, what they've done so far. So a little bit of a background for people that are tuning in, that this question came from, I was watching a documentary. I think it was called Iron Cowboy. There was a gentleman that did 50 Ironman competitions in 50 states. I think it was consecutively. It was something insane. And he was asked on Twitter what he believes are 3 lies about doing Ironman competitions. So I was like, oh, that's a good question. Let me apply to the fitness industry. So Justin, what are 3 lies you have encountered in the fitness industry?
Tyler, how long do you have? Do you want just 3? Like, come on, I could do this all day. But it's funny. It's really topical that you put this up, because I just put something up on my social media about this. So I think the biggest one, in my opinion and in my experience, is that exercise is punishment and food is the reward.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. Exercise is punishment and food is the reward. You hear it all the time when your buddies are like, oh, I just did a 600 calorie burn. I deserve to have this burger. And it's almost like, you're not going to see progress that way. While it's great, and I'm saying cheat meals, whatever, you need to enjoy that kind of stuff. That's awesome. I really, really want you to do that. But exercise was never something wrong, or movement was never anything that you did wrong. Right. And that doesn't, because what I end up seeing is that people push themselves harder. And instead of 45-minute workouts, they're doing 90-minute workouts, and they're doing 2-a-day workouts. And they're like, well, I had this calorie goal for today. And it's just, that kind of stuff is really, really scary. And it leads to injuries. It leads to poor relationship with exercise and movement, as well as food. So I think that's really, really, it's a cautious tale. And I'm not saying don't enjoy the cake. I freaking eat cake all the time. I have ice cream. I have pizza, and that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. The point is you shouldn't have to sabotage your results in either sphere, fitness or nutrition, just because, you think that one is bad and one is good. All of it is good. Right? If you just learn how to nourish yourself and focus on that and focus on the basics, you can allow for that fun stuff anytime you want, So I think that's my big one. Second one that I really, really wanted to hone in on is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier about not eating fruit because of the sugar. And I understand what the scientists are saying, who are really anti-fruit, and the fructose, and your body is recognizing it as sugar. I get that. But you mentioned earlier about 66% of Americans being obese. It's not because they're eating a cantaloupe. It's really not, man. That's not what the issue is. So yeah, let's really, really, really pull back and say, fruit has some real, phytonutrients that your body needs. There are some real, I mean, you look at blueberries, some of the anti-aging effects, and, some of those nutrients, those micronutrients that you are getting from fruit are so crucial to the development of your cells in your body. So eat the damn fruit and really think about maybe other aspects of your lifestyle that need to change before you think that eliminating fruit is a good idea. I mean, there's freaking fruitarians out there. I mean, I haven't looked too much into that, but I mean, it's a real thing. So, and then the third one, I mean, this is very, very common, and we hear it time and time and again, that weightlifting is going to make you bulky. I mean, please stop with this fallacy that, if you lift something heavy that you're going to look like Arnold. It doesn't work that way. I have been lifting for 15 plus years. I'm 6'3" and I look like a beanpole. It's just not the way my body is. I mean, I focus more on, I'll go back to my story a little bit. I was a hockey referee here in Canada. Hockey's our big sport, right? And I actually made it pretty high in the rankings. I almost made it to the NHL, which was a super cool experience. But I wasn't huge, even though I weightlifted, even though I trained, even though I can deadlift over 400 pounds, I can squat over 250, I can bench press whatever, 235 or something like that. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be bulky. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. So I think that before you try to do high rep, low weight exercises because you're scared of lifting weight because you're going to get quote unquote bulky, like just know that you are doing more benefit by lifting heavy weights under control with 100% focus on your form than trying to do 15 to 50 reps of squats because you're not allowed to add weight. So anyways, I digress. That's kind of my big one is you're not going to get bulky.
I dig it. And they all give me good laughs, and they're definitely ones that Fit Pros can relate to.
Feel free to use that fruit one anytime you want, right? Because 66% of people are obese. It's not because they're eating a frickin' stick of celery or strawberries or whatever, right? So
that's funny. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, Justin, really great stuff in this episode. Before we sign off here, can you give again people your social media links and your website URL?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Justin Slim. The last name is Slimm. So there's 2 M's in Slim. You can find me on any social media platform at Slim Fitness. Tyler, it's funny, if with the last name of Slim, yes, that is my legal name. If I didn't get into the fitness industry, I don't know what the heck I was doing, right? So it's just, the last name actually really suits what I do. And, we didn't really get into this, but weight loss is not my focus. While I can help people lose weight, I try to focus more on the mental side of things. And we really talk about that goal, and we talk about, is this something that you actually want to achieve, or is it something because you've seen it on a magazine cover? Let's really, really dive deep into that. So I think that that's important. My website is justinslim.com. Super easy to find. I've got more program information on there as to what I'm up to. All of my stuff is virtual right now because here in Canada at the time of this recording, everything is closed. There's no in-person option whatsoever. We can't even gather outside with more than 10 people. So it's everything's virtual. Everything is video. Everything is done via apps and phone calls and Zoom and everything like that. So to get more information, I say just follow me on social media. If anything, just watch my stories on Instagram, watch my TikTok stuff. Like I'm trying to keep people entertained while at the same time educated. Yeah.
Dig it. I dig it a lot, Justin. Thank you for coming on. Lots of great stuff for people to unpack, apply right away. So thank you again, my friend.
Of course, Tyler, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate it.